The President. Good morning. Let's resume. This is the motion debate on giving full play to the role of China capital enterprises. Mr. Lai Tong-kwok. President, I thank Mr. Eric Yim for his motion. China capital firms play a key role in Hong Kong. As one amendment refers to, right now we have more than 4,000 China and capital firms. That includes subsidiaries. Still, that's a huge number. In terms of the value, let's look at the foreign direct investment figures from the Ministry of Commerce. In 2022, direct investment from the mainland in Hong Kong reached 97 billion US dollars. The trade volume exceeds that for trade with other places. This shows China capital firms have huge confidence in Hong Kong. So we have a large number of China capital firms and a huge amount of investments from such firms. So how do we better leverage these firms to help us better integrate into our country's development? To do that, we need better policies and more concrete actions. The current term government rolled out new measures, acted decisively in attracting firms and talent. Bringing in China capital firms is one of the measures. On October 4th, Oasis announced that the first batch of firms to come here or scale up businesses. There are more than 20 firms. Most of them are China capital firms. Today, we got another good news. It's a battery maker, an industry leader, CATL, Contemporary Amperex Limited. It will set up its international headquarters in Science Park. So we will see the CATL Innovation and Research Center. This firm will help drive our green and innovation development. Our country's development advances by leaps and bounds. In many technologies, our country has become a global leader. Hong Kong must play its part. We should let China capital firms keep flourishing here. That will help ensure our long-term prosperity and stability. The New People's Party proposed this. To drive the Greater Bay Area development, the SCL government should consider working with the Guangdong government. In setting up a high-quality development fund, we should use the exchange fund. We should use some assets under the exchange fund, and then let's also involve China capital firms in Hong Kong. We should invest in GBA project to tie in with our I&T development blueprint and also support the northern metropolis. Getting more China capital firms involved will mean a larger pool of capital for us. We will also be able to better identify projects with potential in the Greater Bay Area. For the high-quality development of the GBA and helping Hong Kong integrate into our country's development, this move will go a long way. I so submit.
Mr. Rock Chen, President, China capital companies play an indispensable role in Hong Kong. As of July this year, over 6,400 of them are in Hong Kong, accounting for 50% of the listed companies here. They have contributed tremendously to our economy and community, and they have provided firm support for further development of the country. I'm grateful to Mr. Yim Kong for sponsoring this motion so that we can explore how China capital firms can help Hong Kong's integration into the overall development of Hong Kong in the international Cooperation Forum of the High Quality Belt and Road Initiative, Presidency said that we should enhance connectivity and also promote INT development. So we should follow the instruction of Presidency and attract more China capital firms to develop in Hong Kong. This can assess our economic growth and society development. State companies can also take this opportunity to serve the country and the B&R initiative. In 4 ways, the government can enhance support for China capital firms. First, we must play our role as a super connector where we must grasp the opportunity associated with B&RI. Hong Kong is an international aviation and shipping hub and also an offshore renminbi hub. We are connected to the world and we have the backing of the country. So we must tap into the B&R market and grasp the new business opportunities and work together with China capital firms. Secondly, the government should provide more land and space to support the development of China capital firms. Land supply is a limiting factor for further development of these firms. This is particularly so for new technology companies. Lack of hardware infrastructure will stifle their growth and will be a disincentive for them to come to invest and take roots in Hong Kong. And we must expedite the development of the northern metropolis in order to provide more development room and opportunities for state capital firms. The SL government should build a more comprehensive INT ecosystem. We have very renowned universities and public R&D centers. And yet for our INT, we have a gap in R&D and commercialization and transformation. And so we must build up our INT transformation platform. We should encourage universities, R&D institutions and enterprises to innovate and tap into the mainland market to promote the flow of talents, capital, and technology between Hong Kong and the mainland. China capital firms are very proactive in community building in Hong Kong to enhance people's sense of gain and well-being. We must mobilize the manpower and funds available from China capital firms and let them set up good collaboration with our political parties and district organizations so that they can help in community building together. They can promote good governance in Hong Kong so we can have a win-win situation. With these remarks, I support the motion and also the amendment. Mr. Shang Hai-leung. Thank you, President. I'd like to speak in Pui-leung for this motion. First, I want to thank Mr. Yim Kong for moving this motion on giving full play to the role of China capital enterprises to promote Hong Kong's integration into the overall development of the country. China capital firms have made great contribution to our prosperity and stability. We must recognize that, and they have played a very proactive role. I fully support Dr. Tan Yueheng and Mr. Chen Pui-leung's amendments. They are very useful. It is important that we collaborate with China capital firms, and we should attract them to set up regional headquarters in Hong Kong. These firms are very important in Hong Kong, and it's also important for us when we want to invest into the mainland. Today, we'd like to discuss the direction of China capital firms. Let me declare interest of work for China Mobile and then Unicorn. After I arrived in Hong Kong, I am still an executive director of the relevant association. I'm a consultant to China Com. Now, people think that China capital enterprises are the same as state-owned enterprises. Well, what is meant by China capital firms, as Dr. Tan Yueheng said, this class of firms refers to holdings with China capital. There can be state-owned enterprises, private enterprises, etc. Now, our room for imagination when it comes to China capital firms is now enlarged. They are very important in taking forward prosperity and economic development for both Hong Kong and the country. Members may want to ask how these firms can promote our economic development and INT development. Now, for INT, I suggest that the government should allow these firms to play a role in developing INT in Hong Kong. They are major growth impetus. They are the lead in the world when it comes to these firms. In 2002, 98 firms made $3.98 trillion in profit, or $2 trillion in profits. They can use INT. Now, they can boost productivity. They have invested hundreds of billions of dollars in technology. They have provided growth impetus for Hong Kong. First, the first hydrogen bunkering station is an investment of China Capital Enterprise. CRC, etc., and Guangda have got R&D entities in Hong Kong. BOC Hong Kong has also introduced awards for technology and innovation. Secondly, we should encourage China capital enterprises to set up overseas R&D headquarters in Hong Kong. It's not easy for the headquarters to be relocated in Hong Kong, but we can see that when it comes to upgrading and transformation, now many enterprises have set up regional headquarters in Hong Kong, like Aminda is a good example. Thirdly, the government should attach importance to the talents these firms will bring to Hong Kong. Take the top talent pass scheme as an example. 43,000 applications have been approved as at October. Let me say that I am related to a top talent pass organization. Many of them will come to Hong Kong. They are mainland residents. Now, these talents may set up companies in Hong Kong. I think there are tremendous opportunities associated with their coming to Hong Kong. I hope we can have a better recognition for the role played by China Capital Enterprises in Hong Kong. In 2019, we have the Black Club violence. Well, these enterprises were mainly victims of those violence acts. They contribute to the development of Hong Kong. We must say thank you to these firms. With these remarks, I support the motion and the amendments. Ms. Sarini, thank you. I thank Mr. Yim Kong for moving this motion on giving full play to the role of China Capital Enterprises to promote Hong Kong's integration into the overall development of the country. Once again, I must recognize the contribution made by China Capital firms to Hong Kong. Members have elaborated on the contributions made by these firms to Hong Kong at different stages of development in Hong Kong. I will not repeat those details. Now, of course, we've also got Hong Kong invested enterprises, China capital firms, and foreign-funded firms. Together, they have helped Hong Kong to advance from stability to prosperity. Hopefully, they can continue to collaborate and help Hong Kong to scale new heights. In my service in DAB, I must thank the China capital firms for their support for the patriotic cause in Hong Kong. Without them, perhaps we won't be able to achieve so much. Now, they have provided us with volunteers. When we need volunteers most, China capital firms are always our biggest support. They mobilize their colleagues to help in frontline works, including the establishment of our patriotic cause. And secondly, they have offered resources. Many of these firms have set up charitable funds so that they plow back what they have earned in Hong Kong into charitable organizations. they have not just donated supplies during COVID. Their colleagues took the risk to help us to distribute those anti-epidemic supplies in the community. Thirdly, the professionalism and also R&D outcomes are often shared with us. They have professionals and expertise. They have important research reports. Many of the research reports are very helpful to legislators and the government alike. I'm grateful to these firms for their willingness to share with us the outcome of their research studies. They're willing to explore with us how we can promote or urge the government to work with us. I'm most grateful to these firms for what they have done to Hong Kong. Well, during inclement weather, there were tree collapses. They came out to help us to remove the road obstacles. And then they also donated supplies for fighting the epidemic. Now, many profit-making organizations don't want to set up branches in public housing estates, but many China capital banks are willing to do that. And during the riots, China capital firms like us were targets of violence and attacks. I was so heartbroken to see how their premises were sabotaged, but they did not complain about that. They just build their own metal cages to protect their property and premises. We must recognize the contribution of these firms. We are now advancing from stability to prosperity. President Xi has got 4 expectations for us. I hope the China capital enterprises can continue to leverage on their advantages. First, to keep increasing our growth and impetus. In fact, many China capital firms have chosen to set up their branch headquarters or regional headquarters in Hong Kong. We should further promote this, because when they're in Hong Kong, it's easy for them to go international. They can do so together with many professionals in Hong Kong. Second, to address livelihood issues. Thirdly, to tell good stories of Hong Kong and the country. Many China capital firms are witnesses to the rapid development of the country. I hope they can go out together with us. Now, I have to talk about the reunification of hearts. We rely on these firms to help us to enhance solidarity and sense of belonging. I hope they can continue to leverage their advantages. Hopefully, China capital firms can treat Hong Kong as their home. Thank you.
Mr. Lam Chun-sing. Thank you, President. I thank Mr. Yim Kong for moving this motion. China capital enterprises are playing an ever more significant role in Hong Kong in terms of economic development, social development, as well as improving people's livelihood. These enterprises have made a lot of contributions. Other members already cited a lot of examples. So if I may, I'd like to talk about youth development and employment and how China capital firms have contributed to the cause, so that joining the government's efforts, we can create synergy. In 2018, the government launched a summer internship program for young people to have overseas internship opportunities. Before COVID, in 2018, 2019, about 1,500 and 2,700 people enrolled in the program. For the latest round of internship program, we have 2 large China capital firms joining the program. And the internship positions include the data analytics, branding and marketing, etc. Young people taking part in the program will be able to get the first-hand experience in working for these firms on the mainland. They can also have a better understanding of the latest development of the relevant industries in the Greater Bay Area. At the macro level, as the government takes forward new industrialization, life science and data science will also be given a boost. For young people who would like to join the relevant industries, the internship experience they acquired on the mainland will help them equipped with the relevant knowledge. At the meeting of the manpower panel, I made this suggestion. The existing Greater Bay Area Youth Employment Program should be expanded to cover postgraduate students as well as VPAT students, so that we have another option for young people in Hong Kong as well as China capital enterprises, so that they can add value to their experience and be prepared for their future career. For those who studied science and technology, in the past there weren't many such students. This is due to a lack of support for the development of the relevant industries. There was limited prospect for STEM professionals. I support Mr. Pui-leung's amendment. He suggests attracting more central enterprises and state-owned enterprises to set up regional headquarters in Hong Kong so as to drive the development of new industrialization. In terms of attracting enterprises, the government should do more in this regard. For example, on new energy transport, smart vehicles, and chip processes, large-scale China capital firms in the business should be attracted to come and set a presence in Hong Kong. They should be encouraged to create more jobs for our young people, for them to have better career prospects. I support the motion and the amendments. I so submit. Reverend Dr. Peter Kuhn. President, China capital enterprises have a long history in Hong Kong. They have witnessed the changes and developments in Hong Kong. Be it old and new, these enterprises have become leaders in their relevant industries. In the course, we have undergone ups and downs. We have met different challenges. Still, China capital firms have all along been forging a united front with the people in Hong Kong to weather the storm together. During the darkest times, the China capital enterprises undertook not to have pay cuts and layoffs so as to weather the storm with the public together. They also played a very significant role during COVID. For example, using their own resources and what was available to them, they helped combat COVID. They provided relief to a lot of families, especially the grassroots families. They helped mending the safety net for Hong Kong, in other words. And in recent years, they have expanded their businesses, and in various ways, they also reciprocate to our social development. They have become a major force in maintaining social stability. Now we have entered a new phase of moving from stability to prosperity. The China capital enterprises will continue to uphold the philosophy of finding their roots in the country and helping Hong Kong grow. Apart from generating value, they should also leverage their business capacity in helping the government resolve deep-seated problems such as housing and elderly care, so as to bring benefits to our people. For example, in the Greater Bay Area, they helped promote the Greater Bay Area Youth Employment Program And these enterprises can also play the role as the bridge to attract more China capital firms to come. More importantly, these enterprises are well endowed with resources, so they can focus on fulfilling corporate social responsibility to help the old and young, to help the underprivileged, and help support youth development, resolve livelihood issues, and provide more opportunities for the young people so that they can actively respond to the needs of society, so that people can feel that we have the country's support. In the Proverbs, in the Bible, there is this saying, and in Apostles, Jesus also said that we should blessed are those who give than those who receive. That means we should always help those who are less in a less advantageous position than ourselves. With the Greater Bay Area development, we should also expedite our progress. As the country advances the course of dual circulation strategy, we should dovetail with the national strategies so as to pave our way for a brighter future, so that we can open a new chapter for Hong Kong. I support the motion and the amendments. Ms. Lillian Kwok. Thank you, President. I thank Mr. Yim Kong for moving this motion on giving full play to the role of China capital enterprises to promote Hong Kong's integration into the overall development of the country. China capital enterprises have always formed a strong patriotic force in Hong Kong, and they also helped in the process of development. They cover different services in different sectors such as financial services, trade, food supply. They're closely related to our livelihood, such as Dongjiang Water. This group undertakes the supply of Dongjiang Water to Hong Kong. That's GD Holdings. They have supplied Dongjiang Water to Hong Kong for the past 50 years, and so far they have supplied 23 billion cubic meters of water to Hong Kong. The government should be more proactive in considering giving a bigger role for China capital enterprises to play. This will be conducive to our development as well. Now, I have the following suggestions. Talent is of utmost importance to the sustainable development in Hong Kong. Now, we should foster collaboration among the government, the business, and schools. Different courses can be offered to schools and education institutions so that there will be more opportunities for young people in the Greater Bay Area. There can be exchange and study programs for young people to be attached to mainland enterprises so that they have a better understanding of our country and they have a sense of belonging to the country, and this can also help groom talents. Second, China capital enterprises can join hands with the government on improvement on livelihood projects. Now, many such firms have they have volunteers. For example, they helped families with home repair. They also provide supplies to the needy families. They are the good partners of the government. Now, together with care teams, then the government, the China capital enterprises, can form a tripartite patriotic force to help solve livelihood problems in Hong Kong. Earlier, as I understand, $30 billion were set aside to set up the co-investment fund to attract enterprises from the mainland and overseas to take forward development in Hong Kong so as to drive Hong Kong's growth. Every year, the government should review the number of enterprises, the direction of development, effectiveness. The government should consider whether more resources should be devoted to promote the development. Now, in October, the Hong Kong MA and the mainland authorities signed an agreement in relation to cross-boundary financing for China capital enterprises. In this MOU, it is said that there will be support for China capital enterprises to issue bonds and hold joint events in Hong Kong so that the relevant bond issuance can be publicized. I think that such events should be held. We should also publicize the MOU across the boundary so as to enhance, also as to further boost our advantages and open up channels for cross-boundary financing and attract more enterprises to set up headquarters or regional quarters in Hong Kong so that with a knock-on effect, we can continue to attract enterprises from around the world to come. We can be a place that fosters collaboration so that we can grasp the opportunities of Greater Bay Area development. Now, we should make good use of the resources available in the two markets and bolster our status. China capital enterprises are familiar with our market. They can also help play the role as the bridge to connect funds so that they can give a boost to our society.
Mr. Chao Siu-chung. President, I thank Mr. Eric Yim for his motion and the two amendments. This motion lets us discuss ways to let China capital firms contribute to Hong Kong's development. The Xinhua Agency's figures show that there are more than 4,000 China capital firms, that is including their subsidiaries. Many of them are industry leaders. Their businesses range from people's daily lives to many other aspects: food, telecoms, construction. These firms provide many jobs and also help secure the supply of daily necessities. There's no doubt about the contributions made by these firms. In our country, these firms also helped with poverty relief. Our country made huge achievements in poverty alleviation. 98 million people in rural areas were lifted out of poverty. State-owned enterprises played an active role. A local TV documentary discussed how an SOE worked with the government. Over 3 years, an impoverished village in Guizhou was transformed into a holiday resort that helped improve the locals' quality of life. More than 100,000 private firms took part in our country's poverty relief efforts. That work benefited 15 million impoverished people. I cite these examples because I want the government to look into ways of allowing China capital firms to take part in quality of life projects. The government proposed a community living room. This will mean extra living room for subdivided unit residents. This can also help ease the pressure on grassroots families in child care. This way, grassroots parents can work and boost their income. This will mean services not just for Sham Shui Po and other areas with many SDUs. To create a childbearing community, we need childcare support across all districts. The government should team up with China capital firms. Let's find more places and turn them into CLRs. The government can also invite China capital firms to design training programs. This can help ease the labor crunch. In June this year, I moved a motion on unleashing the potential labor force. I proposed learning from the mainland. We can have flexible hours that are friendly to mothers who have to look after children. This can let more women go to work and look after their children. There was huge support from the business sector. We should make good use of China capital firms' experience in the mainland and have this kind of flexible arrangement for women in Hong Kong. That way we can get more Hong Kong women to work. Now, the Strive and Rise scheme. will see enhancements. The scope will be expanded to cover Form 4 students. And for those who completed the scheme, there will be more support. This scheme has the support of many China capital firms. The government should build on this. Get China capital firms to take part in the scheme and provide internships in INT, tourism, and other sectors. Let's make the scheme more appealing and help grassroots young people with their career planning. China capital firms have made contributions to Hong Kong, and the achievements speak for themselves. These firms are willing and are capable of making even greater contributions to people's well-being. The government needs to create the conditions for these firms to play a bigger role. I so submit. I support the motion and the amendment. Mr. Ambrose Lam. President, I work at a law firm. It's not exactly a China capital firm, but we work closely with the mainland. It's a national chain of law firms, so I declare my interest in this law firm. President, I fully agree with Mr. Eric Yim with his motion and also with the amendments from Dr. Tan Yueheng and Mr. Pui-leung. Huge changes are taking place in the world. We need China capital firms more than ever to help Hong Kong integrate into our country and for Hong Kong to contribute to our country. The government needs to take more proactive measures to bring in more China capital firms to Hong Kong. That will help Hong Kong better integrate into our country's development. For over a century, Hong Kong has been part of international trade. We helped other firms enter the mainland market and helped mainland exports reach the global market. That leaves us with a well-developed professional services industry chain. We have people well-versed in common law. They are well-versed in international trade and maritime trade contract. We are also aligned with global practice in terms of our accountant. We also have financial and legal talent for corporate financing to go big and grow strong. Apart from such talent, we also have other advantages, national support and global connections. That's one. And second, we are a separate customs territory. We have a low tax and a free market. There is free movement of capital. That's two. And now I turn to the third point. We are the only common law jurisdiction in China. And for hundreds of years, international trade follows common law. The Hong Kong government needs to promote our talent to China capital firms. Our greatest asset is the talent in professional services. There are other low-tax places in the world, but they lack the professional service providers. And it's even rarer to see such talent of the same nation. And many such talent are in small and medium enterprises. China capital firms want to work with foreign firms, but those benefits will flow to outsiders. That leaves fewer opportunities for local professionals to take part in our country's development and the Belt and Road Initiative. So the government should take more proactive measures. Let's encourage China capital firms to hire local professionals. And let's grow together in exploring the Belt and Road market so that Hong Kong better integrates into our country's development. President, I so submit. Dr. Wendy Hong. President, I support Mr. Eric Yim's motion and Dr. Tan Yueheng and Mr. Pui-leung's amendments. China capital firms have been the mainstay of Hong Kong's economy. They cover a range of businesses, finance, INT, professional services. They also take part in trade, logistics, tourism, and construction, energy, telecoms, foodstuffs. China capital firms are engaged in all these businesses. China capital firms and their subsidiaries number more than 4,000 in Hong Kong. And that's the largest source of firms from outside Hong Kong. These firms play a key role, and they also play a crucial part in Hong Kong's stability and prosperity. Whenever a crisis comes and we need a community-wide effort, China capital firms have always played a part in the anti-extradition bill saga and COVID-19 pandemic. China capital firms have helped ensure stability. They helped with government mobilization. They helped provide supplies and mobilize people to help out. There are tensions between China and the U.S. Foreign investors are getting wary about investing in Hong Kong. China capital firms can help play a key role in ensuring investment and jobs. China capital firms are a gateway between the mainland and Hong Kong, so they can also play a key role in helping Hong Kong integrate into our country's development. I have 2 points to make. First, state-owned enterprises have investment projects or offices in Belt and Road countries. Hong Kong's networks are mostly in Europe, in the US, and Japan. In the future, Hong Kong firms should team up with China capital firms in B&R projects with potential. Hong Kong firms should team up with mainland firms in Belt and Road development. Second, Hong Kong will see many major developments, Northern Metropolis and the Central Waters Artificial Islands. To ease the pressure on public finance, we need to tap market capital. China capital firms are unique in having strategic thinking and a sense of commitment. Their interest is aligned with Hong Kong's long-term interest. Let's get the balance right with the cost and benefits. China capital firms can take part in Hong Kong's long-term development and help Hong Kong integrate into our country's strategies. So the government can consider leveraging China capital firms in taking forward major development projects. On bringing in more China capital firms to Hong Kong, I also have 2 points to make. Hong Kong has spared no efforts in diversifying our industries. There are many support schemes for industries. I talked to many mainland private firms taking an interest in Hong Kong. They said they know little about Hong Kong's support. That becomes an obstacle for them to invest in Hong Kong because they know little about us. We have one-stop support like Invest Hong Kong and Office for Attracting Strategic Enterprises. Still, there are gaps in the surface. On the market, there are new firms targeting or catering to the needs of newer firms that come here on registration, licensing, making sense of policies and subsidies. This kind of support firms offers a full range of support, and they deserve our support because they can help bring in more firms. Invest Hong Kong and Oasis and also the Science Park should work with these support firms. Let's offer help for firms that are just coming to Hong Kong. We should give them a wide range of support. Many firms want to go to the Northern Metropolis, but they have different needs in terms of land. They want to rent existing space. Some want to have a plot of land from the government and build their own facilities. Others want to bring in upstream or downstream businesses. Other firms want their own industrial park and then they bring in their own investment. The government should offer flexible land grant policies to cater to the needs of different firms that come to Hong Kong to strengthen these China capital firms so that they can serve Hong Kong. I so submit.
Professor Lau Chi-pang. President, I speak to support Mr. Yim Kong's motion to fully leverage on the role of China capital enterprises to promote Hong Kong's integration into the overall development of the country, and as well as the 2 amendments. I think we can trace back to the late 19th centuries. 151 years ago, Shanghai set up the China Merchant Group there. BOC, the CTS, and CLC. These are China capital enterprises that were pivotal to economic development in the early days, and they also laid a firm foundation for Hong Kong's entry port trade. In 1949, PLC was established. Since then, more China capital enterprises came to Hong Kong, and Wu Fang came to Hong Kong. Premier Zhao Enlai decided to stabilize prices in Hong Kong, and then Feng Hong was asked to set up operation in Hong Kong, and then Hua Feng, etc. They Yueheng, etc. They play an important role. Many of us have purchased mainland goods from there, and then we also purchased electrical appliances for our mainland relatives through these companies. Now, for food produce and also water supply, mainland capital enterprises were here to help. In 1963, there was a water shortage in Hong Kong. There was water rationing. There was only 4 hours of water supply in 4 days. And then the China capital enterprises in Hong Kong helped to negotiate for fresh water supply from Dongjiang, and then in 1964, finally, we had supply of fresh water from Dongjiang. And then in the 1960s, although resources were tight in the mainland, there were 3 departures of a train from Guangdong to Hong Kong, bringing us fresh produce. Now, they have been our lifeline for many years in supplying fresh produce to Hong Kong. And then since the opening up and reform of the country, many China capital enterprises have set up branches in Hong Kong, and their business is closely tied to the livelihood of Hong Kong. So during the 3 years of COVID, China capital firms were heavily involved in helping us to fight the pandemic. They provided manpower for PCR tests. They helped to build the isolation facilities for patients, for COVID patients. They have used resources to help us. These firms is a bridge between Hong Kong and the mainland and tighten the ties between the two places. 2023 is the first year to fully implement the spirit in the 20th report of the MPC, and we should be fully involved in the overall strategic development of the country, the GBA development as well as the BNRI. We should help Hong Kong to integrate into the overall development of the country better. With these remarks, I support Mr. Yim Kong's original motion and the 2 amendments. Mr. Lau Kwok Fan, thank you. President, I fully support Mr. Yim Kong's motion and the other 2 amendments. Since the handover for 26 years, China capital enterprises have an increasingly important role in Hong Kong. We are so prosperous. This is partly because of the opportunities brought about to us by the country. And China capital enterprises have played an important role. They have grown with Hong Kong. Many enterprises were already in Hong Kong in the 1940s and 50s. Of course, some took shape in the 1970s, CLC, CTS, and Guangda, and Everbright, CTS. They are important China capital enterprises in Hong Kong. They have played an important role in helping Hong Kong's integration into the overall development of the country. 1992 was a landmark when Deng Xiaoping visited the southern part of China. The South China became a growth engine for the whole country, and many China capital enterprises came to develop in Hong Kong. As at end, July 2023, we have over 300 odd shares listed companies in Hong Kong. The capital worth total $2.92 trillion, accounting for a large proportion of our capital in value in Hong Kong. As mentioned by members, these enterprises have played a big role in promoting livelihood in Hong Kong. In 1960s, there were 3 departures of trains from mainland to Hong Kong, sending us fresh food supplies, and also CRC and also Yueheng. They ensure stable prices, food prices for Hong Kong. And the Dongjiang Water Project have provided 80% of our water consumption. When we had water rationing, they played an important role in resolving the water resources issue for Hong Kong. And during the opening up and reforms of the country, these enterprises helped Hong Kong to tide over difficult times. I was in the North District and Tin Shui Wai, and on a daily basis, I received face mask and also a test kits, COVID test kits from China Capital Enterprises. They gave us protection during COVID. So China Capital Enterprises have helped in the long-term prosperity and stability of Hong Kong. Now we have entered a new era. We have got the B&R initiative and also the Northern Metropolis. We need more China Capital Enterprises to unleash the potential in Hong Kong and be involved in different projects. Many China Capital Enterprises have expressed interest in the Northern Metropolis development. I received quite a number of them. I organized workshops and seminars for them. In 2022 and 23 alone, I've organized close to 100 seminars or visits to Hong Kong for them, for companies. Most of them were China Capital Enterprises. Given the new situation in Hong Kong, many of these firms would like to set up headquarters in Hong Kong. Coincidentally, there is the promotion of headquarters economy in this year's policy address. So whether we're talking about the action agenda for the Northern Metropolis or development of headquarters economy, the government can have information kits for these companies, because right now information is provided in a piecemeal way. I hope we can have information kits and we can work together with Shenzhen so that China capital companies that want to develop in Hong Kong can know their positioning better and they can have better information. Thank you. I support the motion and the amendments. Dr. Teck Chi Yuen. Integration into the overall development of the country. Hong Kong people is very much involved. Every day we have 200,000 Hong Kong people going to Shenzhen to spend money. So this has addressed or the wish of the businessmen. But is it the best strategy? I think we should have a smarter strategy, and the situation should be beneficial to both sides. We are now integrated into the development of the country. Deng Xiaoping talked about one country, two systems in a bid to preserve Hong Kong's way of life. Our capitalist system will remain open. We have democracy and people can still be bilingual and triliterate. These are important advantages or strengths for Hong Kong to be an international city. If Hong Kong only belongs to the country and not to the world, then this will stifle our further development. Some may say that the two are mutually exclusive. In fact, this is a wrong understanding. I think the two should be complementary. While we integrate into the overall development of the country on two basis. First, we must achieve a win-win situation, and secondly, we must use our own strength to integrate into the country so that there is further room for development for both places. As early back in the 1970s, Hong Kong manufacturers set up production lines in the north because of rising costs in Hong Kong. It was good for their business for them to relocate to the mainland. And we also helped the opening and economic development of the country. That was the first example for Hong Kong to use its strengths to help the development of the country. In the 1990s, Hong Kong has become a financial center. We have attracted many state-owned enterprises to list in Hong Kong. They can raise funds. They can here set up a modern system for running their business. Again, we were using Hong Kong's advantage to help China enterprises. China capital enterprises should fully utilize our advantages. Now, if they just move to Hong Kong and not go international, then they can only benefit Hong Kong but not the country. Now, we can serve as a bridge between the mainland and the world. We have capital. We should introduce China capital into Hong Kong to attract overseas investment, and the other way round as well. We should be a bridge for flow of capital. Hong Kong is both an international city and a world financial center. We can attract overseas talents and investment to go into the mainland to promote economic development of the country and Hong Kong. So we should maintain our distinctive advantages. This will be the best role we can play for the country. We are a super connector. We can help the country to communicate with the world. Hong Kong is a bridge between the world and the mainland, and therefore we must preserve our core values. We must have a free judiciary and also the rule of law, freedoms and freedom of expression and a free press. The government should be subject to the monitoring of the legislature. The government must not compete to the market. We should have a clean government. These are the main values under one country, two systems, and Hong Kong people ruling Hong Kong. I support the motion. Thank you.
Dr. Kennedy Wong, President. Now, China capital enterprises or China capital firms have taken root in Hong Kong for many years. They have supported Hong Kong's development, bringing in capital as well as talents. In terms of integration into the motherland, they also provide a significant support. So I support Mr. Yim Kong's original motion. China capital enterprises play a significant role in taking forward high-speed development of the country. They have also made significant contributions to the reform and opening up of the country. For China capital firms in Hong Kong, according to 2021 Fortune 500, 143 China capital enterprises were included in the chart, up by 30. For the top 500 enterprises, over half of them are China capital firms. For the total capital size in the mainland, it has exceeded 100 trillion renminbi, or 40% of total capital. Now, the China capital enterprises enjoy advantages in being the connector. As mentioned in the Chief Executive's policy address, we will continue to develop the 8 centers as set out in the 14th Five-Year Plan to facilitate economic development. I believe that for the advisory committees to support the 8 centers development, we should appoint China Capital Enterprises representatives because they can act as a liaison with the mainland counterparts. They can also offer a variety of views to further promote collaboration between the two places. According to the Hong Kong Exchange, as of the end of July this year, 323 shares are present in our markets, especially for red chip stocks. Altogether, 1,432 listings are in Hong Kong, accounting for 77% of total, as the China capital firms are playing or taking up a larger proportion. In terms of their contribution to our development, we should attach more importance. We should start with the highest executive organ. The chief executive should appoint representatives of China Capital Enterprises to the executive council so that they can take part in the top-level decisions. I remember before Hong Kong's return, some representatives of important enterprises were appointed to the cabinet, but after the return, it seems that we have yet to see any representatives from China capital firms being appointed, so the government can give it a thought. Now, these firms have continued to tap overseas markets. They have taken part in global infrastructure and other development projects, such as cross-boundary logistics projects. The input from China Capital Enterprises will help bolster our status in the international stage. They can also help Hong Kong's integration into the motherland. I support the motion and the amendments. Mr. Chan Kim-po. Thank you, President. China Capital Enterprises have made significant contributions to Hong Kong. They have worked with the people in Hong Kong. There are over 4,000 such firms in Hong Kong at the moment, covering different walks of life. They provide security in terms of food and water supply and other livelihood issues. They also take up corporate social responsibility and help the underprivileged. They are the loyal partner of our government. I thank Mr. Yim Kong for moving today's motion so that we can discuss how we can further attract these enterprises to invest in Hong Kong. It is the long-standing policy of Hong Kong to attract these enterprises to come. Since the 1980s, we have been attracting the enterprises to come and set up the presence in Hong Kong as the window to attract foreign direct investment. Now we have a lot of them. In Hong Kong, apart from being present in traditional economic sectors, they also leverage the advantages of Hong Kong to raise funds, and they also leverage on one country, two systems in Hong Kong and our position as a bridgehead to tap overseas market. Now, over half of the listed companies in Hong Kong are China Capital Enterprises. They are a significant market player. Now, in the past, I asked the government to invite more China Capital Enterprises to get listed in Hong Kong, especially those which had been listed in the U.S. They should come and come back to Hong Kong for listing and for secondary listing and for more economic activities to take place in Hong Kong. There should be more measures to attract these enterprises to invest in Hong Kong as the financing platform so that we can help drive the development of the financial market. Now, in this year's policy address, the CE advocates development of the headquarters economy. This is something I've been asking for years. This can help China capital firms to come and go global, so as to bring more opportunities to the country. For the Belt and Road Initiative, after decades since it was launched, we now have more clients from ASEAN and from the Middle East to look for opportunities. Now, I think that the government is also riding on this opportunity to develop the initiative in this regard, so that on the one hand, we provide tailor-made services for China capital firms by helping them set up their offices in Hong Kong, as well as building ties with Belt and Road countries, so that we can give play to our role as the superconnector. Now, we should not only help China capital firms go global, we should attract foreign companies to come as well. We have one country, two systems in Hong Kong. International investors are equally significant to our market. Now, the government should therefore make sure that it attracts foreign capital as well. With geopolitical tensions, there are a lot of worries and misconceptions about Hong Kong's situation. We should leverage the ETOs to contact prospective enterprises to come. We can tell them about the services available. As for the mainland, we should publicize our business facilitation measures. For example, foreign staff in enterprises in Hong Kong can enjoy multiple visas for multiple entry to the mainland. About Mr. Yim Kong's original motion and the amendments, these members are G19 members. They are experts when it comes to China capital enterprises. So we should tap that wisdom. Professor William Wong. Thank you, Deputy President. I thank Mr. Yim Kong for his motion as well as amendments from other members. China capital enterprises have always been the pillar of our economy since the 1980s, when the British capital enterprises began to withdraw from the local scene. China capital firms stepped in and filled the void. Last year, there were over 4,000 such firms in Hong Kong with a total capital size of $14 trillion, covering different sectors from financial services, construction, telecommunications, information technology, etc. They are playing an ever more significant role in Hong Kong. But with power comes responsibility. As mentioned by Tan Yueheng in his amendment, we need to encourage them to actively participate in the development of local major economic and livelihood projects. During COVID-19, Mr. Lo Huining, the then director of the liaison office, stressed the role that the China capital enterprises should play. That means they should safeguard the supply of anti-epidemic resources and food to Hong Kong. They should also secure power supply to Hong Kong. At the time, his remarks were echoed by many China capital enterprises. They helped people in Hong Kong, tide people in Hong Kong over difficulties during COVID. We should acknowledge the good deeds of China capital firms. However, they need to they need to show the long-term commitments in order to integrate into our society. Now, many of these firms have their root firmly set in our economy. They are now making a profit, so they should also take up corporate social responsibility. This is not talk shop. They should tap the pulse of society, understand our people's needs, and provide assistance to the underprivileged. The help should not come in the form of donation, but they should truly understand what people need and provide a targeted help. When a China capital enterprises first set up presence in Hong Kong, they may have difficulties in terms of language barrier and cultural differences. They may not know much about how people go by their business here. it may be difficult for them to start improving people's livelihood. Under the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong, the China Capital Enterprises can join different sectors of the community in advancing the cause. For example, this weekend, December 10th, is the polling day of the District Council ordinary election, which is the election after the improved district governance system. 470 district councillors will be returned. Upon completion, the China Capital Enterprises can cooperate with district councillors and take up community work as a means to fulfill corporate social responsibility and providing providing assistance to the needy. In the long term, if these firms can integrate into our community, it will help their business. Fulfilling corporate social responsibility is a good start. China Capital Enterprises, which are new to Hong Kong, should pay attention to that. I support the motion and the amendments.
Mr. Kenneth Leung, Deputy President, I thank Mr. Eric Yim for his motion. This lets us discuss the role played by China capital firms. 2 years ago, when we were in the throes of COVID-19, we were short of supplies and volunteers. We were lucky to have the China capital firms in Hong Kong that helped fight COVID. So we had our supplies, daily necessities were also there despite the restrictions on cross-boundary travel. These firms also donated tablets so that students in poverty could access Zoom classes. These firms helped distribute supplies and visited people in need. We fought COVID together, and that impressed me deeply. There are more than 4,000 China capital firms and its subsidiaries. Their businesses range from telecoms, construction, finance, logistics, etc. With these firms, I hope the firms can help improve our employment market and offer quality jobs and training opportunities for our young people. I hope these firms can hire more local workers so that our young people will see a wider range of opportunities. These firms also offer a good atmosphere. They attach greater importance to traditional Chinese culture. They care about their staff. They have a strong sense of belonging among their staff. They get their staff to serve as volunteers to help the community. We need that sort of corporate culture in Hong Kong. This will help develop positive values in our young people inside and outside the offices. These firms have operations in Hong Kong and the mainland. Internal deployment attachment can help our young people visit the mainland workplaces and help them learn about the mainland's culture. This will make it easier for our young people to pursue opportunities in the mainland so that they can take part in the GBA development and our young people can contribute to our country's development. The Youth Commission worked with China capital firms in launching summer internship schemes. I hope that more China capital firms can take part in such schemes. That way, more young people can learn about our country and broaden their horizons. Deputy President, we have national support and global connections. China capital firms can take Hong Kong as a springboard and explore overseas markets and contribute to the dual circulation strategy and the Belt and Road Initiative. China capital firms explore businesses overseas. That can also take our young people overseas so that our young people can see our country's contributions to other countries. So I hope China capital firms can offer overseas study or internships overseas that can help show our young people our country's strategy in shaping a shared future for humanity. And then these firms can also help our young people contribute to the Belt and Road Initiative. We need better jobs. We need to help our young people move up the social ladder and enhance their sense of well-being, gain, and security. The government alone cannot do it. We need market forces as well. Simply put, we need the government, businesses, and the community, everyone, to work together. On business, China capital firms can play a crucial role. These firms can become a super connector for our young people. They can truly show how we can achieve prosperity and growth, not just for young people and for Hong Kong. I support the motion and amendments. Mr. Tony Tse, Deputy President, I support Mr. Eric Yim's motion on giving full play to the role of China capital enterprises to promote Hong Kong's integration into the overall development of the country. I also support the amendment from the other two members who are both G19 members. That's Dr. Tan Yueheng and Mr. Chen Pui-leung. Hong Kong has always been an open economy. We welcome firms, goods, talent, and capital from everywhere. That includes those from the mainland. Even before 1997, China capital firms were operating extensively in Hong Kong. But due to the systems of the colonial rule and unreasonable systems and political prejudice, some people lack in-depth understanding of our country. That held back China capital firms in Hong Kong. That also held back Hong Kong's efforts to integrate into national developments. Take the construction sector. Some people in Hong Kong had concerns about projects undertaken by China capital firms. They worried about corner cutting for the sake of saving costs. And when they worried about safety, they worried about jerry-built structures. The mainland's construction quality and technologies have outperformed overseas builders in railways, tunnels, and bridges. Our country is actually a global leader. Low cost, fast construction, innovation, design, appearance, and green elements. Chinese firms are doing very well. Some worry with more Chinese firms here, the development of our local talent may be affected. Actually, both are compatible. China capital firms in Hong Kong are registered in Hong Kong. They hire predominantly local residents. In construction, these firms hire our local construction teams. I represent the architecture, landscaping, surveying, and planning sectors. I know many people working at China capital firms. These people learned about the advanced technologies and the managerial experience from the mainland. Our local talent can help China capital firms learn about the rules and market conditions here so that we are aligned with global practice and achieve a win-win outcome for everyone. To fully leverage China capital firms in Hong Kong, the government needs to review our systems, look for outdated and unreasonable systems in tendering and approval. We may come across new technologies and new materials. We should not get fixated on whether the technology has approval from the US or Europe. We should also look at the Guobiao or national standards and make application in the mainland on data transfer and storage. Some work procedures should be allowed on the mainland. Let's relax such rules to an appropriate degree so that we can leverage the technology and capacity of our country. The US-led anti-China forces have been trying to keep our country-led they imposed unreasonable sanctions on our country's trade and technology. Hong Kong cannot expect to be sitting pretty. Given this context, giving full play to China capital firms in Hong Kong can yield benefits for our people and the economy. It's also an imperative in strategic terms. We need to tell good stories of Hong Kong. We need to stress that Hong Kong is an open and free international city. We welcome firms and talent from different backgrounds. On cultural exchanges, tourism, sports exchanges, we should overcome those attempts to keep us down from the West. We need to achieve high quality development at home and then achieve openness towards the outside world. I so submit. Mr. Kenneth Falk. Thank you, Deputy President. I'm a director with a central enterprise. I thank my G19 colleagues for moving this motion about China capital firms. We have 4 hours to tell good stories of mainland firms in Hong Kong. It's a rare opportunity. The government also has the responsibility to tell good stories of these firms. I believe most people in Hong Kong struggle to tell the differences between China capital firms, SOEs, and central enterprises. Just then, another member said China capital firms encompass a wide range of firms. We need to strengthen the four-sphere confidence. So in our economic institutions, people should learn about the contributions made by the SOEs. That's key to establishing institutional confidence. I care deeply about culture and sports. I want to express my thanks. Culture and sports are one way to bring people together. Turning them into an industry can mean more growth. Many industry leaders that are China capital firms have given great support to arts groups, such as the 9 major performing arts groups, the tennis games, dragon boat race. China capital firms, including SOEs and central enterprises, gave massive support to those events. This shows corporate social responsibility and also enhances the corporate image of those firms. The support also means a lot for our sports groups and major performing arts groups. Hong Kong needs to develop into an East meets West center for international cultural exchange. This is a pressing task. So how do we make the most of our China capital firms? We should give it some thought. One point. For small and medium arts groups, China capital firms don't have a well-established channel to reach out to those arts groups. And for our small and medium arts groups, they struggle even more in reaching out to the China capital firms. They lack the networks. There's an imbalance in information. The firms want to offer sponsorships, but they want to ensure quality outcomes. In sports, we have M-Mark. M-Mark events are quality events. So can we have Q marks for the cultural sector? Can we have some sort of certification from government departments? That will provide assurance. And then China capital firms will be more comfortable. They will be more confident that they are investing in quality events. Now, in the policy address, there's a proposal about having a cultural and creative development office. I believe this office will bring more opportunities for small and medium arts groups. This platform will help China capital firms take part in our development as an East meets West center for cultural exchange. Many subsidy schemes cover only non-profit bodies. For our arts and culture industries, they will need massive investment. So I urge the government to review the arts and sports subsidy schemes. We need to relax a bit the rules so that China capital firms can take part in those projects. I went to an opening ceremony of a design center. Designers helped revive our old brands in Hong Kong. So let's take that thinking further. China capital firms have many old brands. Can we do some matchmaking? Can we get our young designers help old brands in mainland China with redesigning, rebranding, marketing? That will help our young people better integrate into national development. There are a wealth of resources in the mainland, and we have huge amount of creativity in Hong Kong. And this is where China capital firms can come in. I support the motion and the amendments. Thank you.
Dr. Julius Ho. Madam Deputy, I fully support the motion on giving full play to the role of China capital enterprise to promote Hong Kong's integration into the overall development of the country. This is what we have been doing all along. This is not really something new. Now, as a bridge in Hong Kong, we have 4,000 China capital enterprises. They have always been the bridge between Hong Kong and the mainland. They have played an important role in providing food, clothing, and daily necessities. They also play an important role in our stock market. So it goes without saying. The question is how they can help to link up with the world. I think China capital enterprises has a big role to play. Just a few days back, there was a Moody's report. Now, they criticize us. Now, we are among the earliest place to recover after the pandemic. They give us an A negative rating, much lower than the previous A++ ranking. This has increased our borrowing cost. Why is it so? We have to understand whether there is any hidden agenda behind those international ranking companies. Now, in the U.S., we are investing a lot. So if we muster our efforts now, how are these credit rating company scaremongering? Now, I think we should have companies that can do credit rating as well. Now, in 2021, the U.S. passed the Strategic Competition Act. Every year, they have to spend $300 million to smear China. I don't know whether these credit rating institutions have received advantage from this fund. Now, they are so influential. When they comment on Hong Kong, do they have to declare interest? They should tell us whether they have been funded or they have received funds from the U.S. to smear us. We should build up our own credit rating companies. Our equity market is worth 6 trillion Hong Kong dollars. The mainland, $12 trillion. Together, we are already 40% of the U.S. market value. We account for 77% of the GDP of the U.S. And I think if we allow them to blackmouth us like that, then we can never fill up the gap. We have to be careful. Today, the Hang Seng Index stands at 10,000 points. For Dow Jones in 2008, there was the financial turmoil. Dow Jones fell to 4,000 points, and today is now recovered, is 30,000 points. They have taken so much advantage of us. So all China capital firms together should pull our wisdom together and think of ways in terms of propaganda. And we should see how we can turn the tide in the stock market. We should not just be a bridge to enhance our communication or our link with the mainland. We should join forces. Now, the U.S. regard China as an enemy, not just its opponent. Now, if we regard the U.S. as our good friend, then this is just wishful thinking. Thank you. Ms. Nexie Lam, I thank Mr. Yim Kong for moving this motion. China Capital Enterprises is an important link between Hong Kong and the mainland. They have grown with Hong Kong together under one country, two systems. They enjoy the strong support of the motherland, and they can help us integrate into the development of the country. That's helped us to overcome many crises. These firms have contributed a lot to Hong Kong. They are also a major force in our economy, and these firms have used our stock market for fundraising, and they have also gone out through Hong Kong. They have promoted development of financial services. This October, the National Planning and Development Commission and the Hong Kong SFC signed a memorandum of understanding to promote a sustainable development of the financial market, and to use Hong Kong as a platform for green finance fundraising. We can continue to issue green bonds. We should have a one-stop service platform to have uniform standards of green finance, and we can also support offshore renminbi business and enhance our support for development in green finance. And now, to satisfy the fundraising needs of China capital firms, Hong Kong's economy is transforming. The government has introduced measures to make Hong Kong a smart city, and China capital firms are very experienced in this regard. A few years ago, we introduced apps for e-payment, for instance, with a lot of hiccups. But virtual banks with China capital did a very good job. For instance, the system was hanged the first day when there was a lucky draw for air tickets, and also introduction of smart play, also a teething problem on day one. We can learn from China capital firms. They have such a big capacity, and they have never got their system hanged. So we should learn from them. Technically, we should also enhance our capacity. We should suggest the government to fully utilize the Northern Metropolis and also our advantage under the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Science and Technology Cooperation Zone to encourage them to set up regional headquarters in Hong Kong. We can help them to raise funds, and China capital enterprises can collaborate with universities and research institutions and enhance collaboration between the industry and also the business and the academic sector. They can provide incubation platform. China capital enterprises have served the community too. This is particularly so during the pandemic. Many people could feel the commitment on the part of these firms. We can enhance collaboration with them. We used to think of local companies in the past. In fact, China capital firms have a lot to offer. We can do better in terms of education and healthcare. We can collaborate with these firms. Some students need support in STEM education. Many China capital firms are very successful in application of technology. They have also got volunteer teams. They can help our young people. Then we can also boost our own talent banks. As GBA development, there will be better integration for sure. It's just that past practices may not do. Nowadays, we can promote collaboration. I'm sure there is room for further improvement. There must be a way to enhance integration so that we can contribute to the growth of the country. Thank you.
多謝代理主席。代理主席，除
Mr. Gary Chan. Thank you, Deputy President.
為香
Well, more China capital enterprises have come to Hong Kong. They've injected impetus to our economy. Now they come to Hong Kong to raise funds for IPOs. This has enhanced our status as a world financial center. These enterprises also make use of our professional service to expand into the international market, and they are major forces for the development of our professional services. Before the handover, China capital enterprises were already contributing to society. Now, during adversity, we can see who are our true friends. China capital enterprises have shouldered their corporate responsibility and ride out the storm together with the community. During COVID, they introduced supplies to fight the pandemic, and there were drugs as well from the mainland for the community. 4,000 China capital enterprises supported the government's call not to lay off staff, even though the economy was difficult. That was a stabilizing force for Hong Kong during the difficult time. So China capital enterprises have been useful in many ways. While we are advancing from stability to prosperity, we need all the more contribution from China capital enterprises. We can play the important role of a superconnector, and we need these firms to help us in addressing livelihood issues as well. These firms have strong ties in the mainland. They can help us in understanding how we can develop in the mainland. For instance, I'm concerned about the development of new energy transport business. The use of hydrogen in transport is also a new direction. A firm has helped us and has introduced us to companies in using hydrogen fuel in transport. I visited their operations in the mainland, and I think that has enhanced my understanding. I tendered suggestion to the chief executive, which is now incorporated into the policy address. During my duty visit in the mainland, I also considered how we could leverage our advantages to help advance China capital enterprises to go global. For instance, the use of hydrogen in transport and also electrical vehicles. They can introduce the technology to Hong Kong to address our roadside pollution. At the same time, Hong Kong can be a platform for them to try out new products. They can use this springboard to go to Western countries to attract investors and also find business opportunities. So this is a win-win situation for all. We can resolve social problems in Hong Kong. Advanced technology can be applied in Hong Kong. Mainland enterprises can use Hong Kong as a stage to go international. Madam Deputy, you may recall that during our visit to the GBA, we saw many construction robots. They are now being used in our own construction activities. So if we develop together with China Capital Enterprises, that will benefit Hong Kong, our industries, as well as these enterprises. Thank you.
Ms. Yueheng Yan, Deputy President, I speak in support of Mr. Yim Kong's motion on giving full play to the role of China Capital Enterprises to promote Hong Kong's integration into the overall development of the country. I support the amendments as well. According to statistics, there are now over 4,000 China Capital Enterprises registered in Hong Kong, with a total capital size of 14.98 trillion Hong Kong dollars. They help upgrade and transform our industries and help bring prosperity to our people, especially in the fields of innovation technology. We have the China Merchant Group and China Travel Services. These are well-established enterprises. For the emerging ones, we have China Mobile and other companies. Now, I need to declare that I'm a senior advisor to one of the China capital firms. Since return of Hong Kong to the motherland, the China capital firms have formed an important force to maintain social stability and prosperity. They've also been widely acknowledged by the community. For example, during COVID, China Capital Enterprises formed voluntary teams to help with COVID relief work, and they also helped our country in this regard. China Capital Enterprises have firmly set their roots in Hong Kong and helped advance the cause of one country, two systems, and contributed to the prosperity and stability in Hong Kong. They are closely related to economic development. They are also the very important platform for attracting foreign direct investment. Well, we are the third largest FDI economy. The Hong Kong government should continue to publicize our advantages to attract them to come and expand the business. We need to make sure that our business environment is favorable so that China capital as well as foreign-funded enterprises can come and develop their business. Earlier, together with a China capital firm representative, we met with the financial secretary as well as the bureau representatives. We talked about the latest reclamation technology. We'd like to leverage this latest technology so that we can shorten the time for land creation and save costs. I've also arranged another industrial enterprise, which is a China capital firm, to meet with Mr. Lam, the Undersecretary, to share the experience of taking forward global infrastructure projects. With their experience, it is hoped that our government can foster greater collaboration with these parties so as to compress the construction timetable and expedite the work's progress. In our discussions, I understand that they are very keen to participate in local infrastructure projects. We should tap collective wisdom and promote high quality development in the mainland and in Hong Kong. We should attract more quality enterprises to foster greater collaboration and jump on the bandwagon of national development. I agree with Dr. Tan Yueheng's amendment. Especially, we should foster Hong Kong's full participation in the Belt and Road Initiative. I went on a business mission in the Philippines. I learned about how China capital firms helped invest in the Philippines and help them in terms of development projects. This is the national strategy. Our enterprises can help the country go global to dovetail with national development strategy and meet the objectives of the Belt and Road Initiative. In order to give full play to their role, the Hong Kong government should formulate policies conducive to the development of China capital enterprises, such as streamlined market access mechanisms, so as to incentivize them to come and invest in Hong Kong. We should expand the scope of collaboration on financial services, information technology, and infrastructure, so that we can achieve the objective of 1+1 being greater than 2. We should also foster collaboration among research institutions in 2 places and nurture management talents. Mr. Lee Chun-kang. Thank you, Deputy President. It's been 26 years since Hong Kong's return to the motherland. China capital enterprises in Hong Kong have grown with Hong Kong. They have also played a significant role in supporting our economy and improving people's livelihood. Their efforts are widely recognized. Despite all the ups and downs and problems and turmoils, the China capital enterprises have always provided relief, such as the 3-year epidemic as well as the Black Hat riots. They leverage on their manpower, capital, and other resources to make contributions to maintaining long-term prosperity and stability in Hong Kong. China capital enterprises have contributed to Hong Kong. This is to be acknowledged. We have the CM Group, CRC, CTS, as well as Costco Shipping, China Mobile, Bank of China, etc. These are emerging China capital enterprises that have become leaders. There are over 4,000 such firms registered in Hong Kong, according to statistics, covering construction, financial services, telecommunications, information technology. They supply 90% of live poultry and livestock, and also freshwater, 42% of natural gas, petroleum, with a total capital size of $15 trillion. That's 15 trillion. 12 zeros after the figure 15. As of April 2022, 1,370 such firms have listed in Hong Kong. That's 53.3% of all listings in Hong Kong, or 77.7% of total market capitalization. After raising funds in Hong Kong, they continue to inject impetus in our economy. This is called synergistic development, so as to help bolster our status as an international financial center, so that we can give play to our role as the gateway of our country to the world. In fact, there have been ups and downs. In face of different hurdles, China capital enterprises have always stood with Hong Kong people. During the financial crisis in 2008, many enterprises in Hong Kong experienced pay cuts and layoffs, whereas the China capital enterprises undertook not to do the same. They set a good example in maintaining market stability. In the past 3 years during COVID-19 pandemic, the China capital firms paid close attention to the needs of people. Apart from proactively providing anti-epidemic kits, they also provided relief to grassroots families. There are too many examples to speak of. With the support of the central authorities, a biotech company in Xiamen called Baotai donated 1 million RAT kits to different sectors of our economy. LegCo members immediately dispersed these RAT kits to the relevant sectors. We'd like to express our gratitude to the company. Again, CTS, China Travel Service, also provided coach service for the public to get tested. The China Taiping Insurance also provided assistance because of the closure of land boundary control points. Costco Shipping ensured that taking the sea route, fresh provisions could be supplied to Hong Kong in a stable manner. All this shows that they played a positive force during COVID-19 pandemic. They made significant contributions and responded to the emergencies. Now we have the country's support and we're connected to the world. We have a lot of experience in the international stage. We can help attract foreign investments and help China capital enterprises tap global market. More proactive measures should be taken by the government to attract China capital firms to invest in Hong Kong, especially since the 1 hour living circle with the Greater Bay Area is larger in place. We can provide, there will be limitless opportunities for us. We should leverage on the uniqueness of China capital enterprises and their dedication so that we can be the bridge. Sorry, your time is up. Mr. Sunny Tan. Thank you, Deputy President. China capital enterprises form the pillar of our economy. There are 4,000 China capital firms in Hong Kong covering different sectors. They are an essential link in our economy. As we enter a new phase of moving from stability to prosperity, we should further explore how we can give full play to the role of China capital enterprises and leverage on their advantages to make Hong Kong a place, a quality place for living and for tourism. We should continue to inject impetus in our economy. The country supports our position as the 8 centers. Different enterprises have taken leaps and bounds of development. We have Tencent, Alibaba in R&T, in textiles. We have Li-Ning, Anta. The government should adopt the positioning of the 8 centers as the foundation of the policy formulation so as to attract more top-notch enterprises to come. Say for textiles, we should attract more top China capital enterprises to come and set up R&D centers in Hong Kong. We should foster exchange with research institutions to drive the development of the industry. If we're able to attract the top 100 or top 500 China capital enterprises to do business in Hong Kong, we will be able to generate a huge amount of economic value. Second, we should leverage the capacity of China capital enterprises to solve long-standing livelihood issues for the sake of our people. While operating costs have been on the rise, not to mention labor costs because of manpower shortage. Now, prices have gone up. This affects people's day-to-day activities. Now, China capital enterprises can bring people and capital in. They can also make our commodities more affordable so that we can achieve value for money and put a stop to the soaring costs and improve people's quality of life. Now, when it comes to quality, I need to talk about the development of smart city. This is for the sake of improving people's quality of living. Apart from digital payments, we can also leverage on the state-of-the-art 5G technology, such as a smart car park. Smart car parks are everywhere in the mainland. Artificial intelligence is used to identify the license plates, and drivers can pay through with contactless means. We should learn from the mainland example and proactively develop Hong Kong into a smart city to improve people's quality of living. My third point is that according to the country, we should continue to take forward the high-level opening up and help our country in this new economic plan. We can contribute our strengths to meet the country's needs and integrate into the overall development of the country. We are a highly internationalized city in Asia. We are biliterate and trilingual. We also enjoy the advantage of being connected with the mainland and having the mainland support and being connected to the world. We also participate actively in different markets in the ASEAN, Belt and Road, etc. Apart from bringing in capital, we can also use Hong Kong as a platform so that we can help China enterprises go global. We can help promote China brands and products. These enterprises form an important pillar of our economy and development. More proactive measures should be rolled out so as to make this pillar stronger and sturdier. I support this motion.
Mr. Bill Tang, thank you, Deputy President. Many members have spoken. China capital firms matter. They represent our country's economic development. There are different kinds of China capital firms. Private firms, such as those brought up by Mr. Sunny Tan. There are state-owned enterprises. Then there are central enterprises managed by the central authorities directly. There are also central enterprises headquartered in Hong Kong. I want to share my thoughts on them. Correct me if I leave anything wrong. China Taiping Insurance, China Merchants Group, China Resources, China Travel Service. This is a broad topic. The SOEs and central enterprises can play a role in helping Hong Kong integrate into our country's development. More specifically, helping our young people integrate into our country's development. This matters for a reason. These firms are special in a way. The liberal school of economics in the US sees minimal government involvement in the market as the way to go. But our country's reforming and opening up shows state-owned enterprises can flourish in tandem with private firms. This is a powerful counter-argument to the Western narrative. Telling good stories of SOEs and central enterprises means we can show our young people how our country achieved feats that are rare in Western countries. So can our SOEs and central enterprises visit our secondary schools and tell students about their development? The China Merchants Group has more than 100 years of history. It's also a microcosm of the more than a century's struggle of our nation. We have seen our country's reform and opening up. China Resources Group ensured the supply of many goods to Hong Kong. One member, Mr. Michael Lok, proposed bringing in more competition in power supply. These are concrete ways to contribute to our community. I believe there's much we can talk about. Now, let's focus on young people. Once I was at New Asia College at CUHK with some LegCo members. We talked to the head of the college. We wanted our young people to learn more about our country's economy. SOEs and essential enterprises can help. We want our young people to learn about our country's economic strategies, how SOEs played a role in the process. We can kill two birds with one stone. We want our young people to learn more about our country's economic development. So where do we start? SOEs and central enterprises are the answer. They know how our country's economy works. They know how our country's policies work. So for the several central enterprises headquartered in Hong Kong, they can play a bigger role in education in the community. That way, our young people will get a better sense of our country's century of struggle through the reforming and opening up. Now, through the SOEs and central enterprises, many businesses in Hong Kong boomed. I come from the FTU. For more than a decade, we have a $200,000 insurance, and that insurer is China Taiping Insurance. Some people say this is loss-making business. Work-related injuries, traffic accident coverage, all that is covered by the insurance coverage. Some workers don't have a clear employment relationship with the employer. Say a hire car driver, they get hurt, what to do? This insurance coverage benefits many workers. So with this insurance policy, we thank the central enterprises for delivering results that can truly protect many workers. So central enterprises play a huge role. I so submit and support the motion. Mr. Martin Liao. Deputy President, I thank Mr. Eric Yim for his motion. China capital firms straddle two systems. They have our country support. They also have operations in Hong Kong. As we go from stability to prosperity, China capital firms can play a bigger role to help Hong Kong integrate into our country's development. These firms are playing a role as a connector. They know Hong Kong's situation and the mainland market. These firms can help bring in more mainland firms to Hong Kong. They can also help Hong Kong integrate into the Greater Bay Area development. One place to start is to help Hong Kong become an international innovation and technology center. Now, on bringing in mainland firms, the success stories of existing mainland firms can make a more powerful case in attracting more mainland firms to come here. Mainland firms in Hong Kong can establish working relationships with their mainland partners. The Hong Kong SAR government should encourage mainland firms of a certain scale to set up production and R&D centers in Hong Kong and encourage them to set up headquarters in Hong Kong. Now, on startups and small and medium tech firms, Hong Kong is attractive because of our financial services. China capital banks make up more than a third of our banking sector. These banks are a powerful force in our financial scene. These banks are a crucial source of support for mainland firms in Hong Kong. On bringing mainland firms to Hong Kong for INT and supporting these firms with funding in different stages of their life cycle, these banks can provide robust support. Now, on INT enterprises, there are different ways to support local startups. This shows China capital firms are willing to support our local tech firms. The government should step up the effort in guiding these firms in supporting our Northern Metropolis development. On the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Science and Innovation Technology Zone and Supercomputing Center, China capital firms can play a part so that we become a tech hub in the GBA. There will be growing demand for INT talent. Given our plans, we can encourage China capital firms to offer more internships and jobs for tech talent. We have good upstream research capabilities. China capital firms can help promote the transformation of outcomes and incubate more startups. This can also help enhance our local research, academic, and industry scene. We also should leverage these firms' knowledge of the mainland market so that our firms and our research outcomes can move to the GBA and then move on to the entire national market. Deputy President, or the President, I support Mr. Eric Yim's motion and the amendments I so submit. A reminder to members according to our House rules. This motion debate has to end by 12:02 today. At around 11:30, I will ask the mover to speak on the amendments, and then we deal with the rest of the debate. Dr. Lo Wai Kwok.